Hello, Dr. Xia is still with a patient. Please wait for a moment. The young nurse Momo poured Li Mei a cup of water and gestured for her to sit on the sofa in the hall for a while. Li Mei had been coming to this mental health clinic for over 6 months, but the results were not remarkable. She had never trusted psychological treatment. If a few words could cure a disease, she wouldn't have been suffering for so many years. But Dr. Xia was the son of a longtime colleague of hers. After returning from abroad to start his practice, her colleague, worried about the lack of patience affecting her son's pride, secretly gave Li Mei money, asking her to pretend to be sick and show support. No injections, no medication, just talking. Twice a week, 2 hours each time. Think of it as chatting to pass the time, her colleague had begged. Out of sympathy for her friend's maternal love, Li Mei couldn't refuse. Gradually, Li Mei became one of Dr. Xia's regulars, and everyone in the clinic recognized her. "You can go in now," Momo said as she helped Li Mei up from the sofa. Momo had a baby face, always bouncing as she walked, her smile as innocent as a child's. If only her daughter were still around, would she be as cheerful and sweet as Momo? Over the past 6 months, Li Mei had spoken the most to Dr. Xia about her daughter, who had gone missing 30 years ago. The day Yo-Yo went missing, it was her 4th birthday. Her father had gone out to buy a birthday cake, and Yo-Yo was sitting at the little table in the yard, eating noodles. She looked at me and said, "The noodles are cold." I told her to play in the yard while I went to the kitchen to reheat the noodles. But in just a few minutes, she disappeared. Her father and I searched every street and alley. I screamed until my voice was hoarse, but Yo-Yo never responded. Every time Li Mei came, she would talk about this memory. "It wasn't your fault." Dr. Xia, a man in his early 30s, unmarried and single, couldn't possibly understand the heart of a parent. Every time Li Mei heard his comforting words, she felt a twinge of mockery. "What's wrong?" Momo waved a hand in front of the dazed Li Mei. "Are you feeling unwell?" "No." Li Mei lightly patted Momo's hand and walked into Dr. Xia's office. Dr. Xia was stretching at his desk. It was clear he had been busy all day, and fatigue showed in the corners of his eyes. "Sorry, the last patient took a little longer than expected. We can start now." Dr. Xia flipped over the hourglass. "How have you been feeling these past few days? How's your mood?" "The same as always." Li Mei sat down, looking uneasy. Dr. Xia smiled and took a box of snacks from his desk drawer. "A friend brought these back from abroad. Want to try? They're quite good." No, thank you." Li Mei waved her hand. "Don't like sweets." "I used to, but now my teeth can't handle it. Thanks, though." Li Mei fidgeted with her hands, which touched the medical report in her bag. "Something on your mind today?" Dr. Xia noticed the tension. In a low voice, Li Mei said, "Dr. Xia, today will be my last session here. I hope you can help me with something. Besides you, I don't know who else to turn to." Dr. Xia watched as Li Mei took out a medical report from her bag and handed it to him. "Momo, cancel my last 2 appointments for the day," Dr. Xia instructed. Momo, though puzzled, glanced at the closed office door but didn't think too much about it. That afternoon, Li Mei stayed at the clinic for a long time before leaving. The next morning, while helping Dr. Xia tidy up his office, Momo found the medical report Li Mei had left on the desk. It turned out she had Alzheimer's disease, which explained her unusual behavior the day before. Li Mei sold her house and moved into a nursing home. Her husband had passed away, and she had no children. Settling in the nursing home seemed like the most practical solution. At first, a few friends and relatives came to visit, but as time passed, no one came anymore. Li Mei didn't mind. Each day after waking up, she would sit in the corridor of the home, staring blankly at the entrance. As time went on, her memory deteriorated. She would have just eaten porridge for breakfast, only to return to the dining hall with her bowl, asking for another meal. At night, she would stand outside her room, hesitating to enter as she had forgotten her room number. Oddly enough, she vividly remembered things from long ago. "When my daughter was little, she loved the instant noodles I made." "Oh dear, How can you let a child eat such unhealthy things? Grandma Lu, who was chatting with her, looked disapproving. Grandma Lu adored her little granddaughter and had moved into the nursing home to make room for the child's new study room at home. I didn't use those seasoning packets. I boiled the noodles first, then added vegetables, some ham, half a boiled egg, a dash of sesame oil, and some scallions. Li Mei would always defend herself, meticulously recounting the steps for making the noodles. At this point, the other elderly residents would find excuses to leave, leaving Li Mei alone, muttering on about her noodle recipe. The staff at the nursing home was limited, but volunteers would come on weekends to help care for the residents. Experienced volunteers would brief the newcomers on their duties. See that old lady sitting there, staring blankly? Her name is Li Mei. She has Alzheimer's and often forgets things, but she's a kind person with a gentle temperament. In the direction the senior volunteer pointed, Lo Yo-Yo saw Li Mei sitting alone in the shadows, her head bowed, lost in thought. "Auntie, can I tell you a joke?" Li Mei looked up to see a girl with a sunny smile standing before her, waving. The girl's bangs shimmered in the sunlight, making her look like an angel. "Who are you?" Li Mei asked. "My name is Lo Yo-Yo. You can call me Yo-Yo," the girl said as she sat down next to Li Mei. Yo-Yo, Li Mei's memory was pulled back to that distant afternoon 30 years ago, in a simple courtyard where a little girl, cradling a bowl, called out to her mother. "Yes, just call me Yo-Yo," the girl said, taking Li Mei's hand. Every week, Lo Yo-Yo would visit Li Mei at the nursing home. She would chat with her, wash her clothes, and sit in the sun together. "Xiaoli, you've gained yourself a daughter," Grandma Lu said enviously. Her own son hadn't visited in weeks, and neither had he let his granddaughter call her. Li Mei just smiled. She didn't know why, but being around Lo Yo-Yo made her feel an inexplicable sense of familiarity. This girl didn't feel like a stranger at all. As Lo Yo-Yo would often say, "Auntie Li, we're fated to be together." Lo Yo-Yo loved eating Li Mei's noodles. Each time she visited, Li Mei would cheerfully head to the kitchen to borrow a pot and make noodles. "Aren't you sick of eating instant noodles all the time?" the cook teased. "No, I'm not," Lo Yo-Yo said, watching Li Mei wash vegetables and cut ham. "There's a mother's love in it," Lo Yo-Yo would say as she polished off every last bite. Seeing Yo-Yo eat with such satisfaction made Li Mei smile. Every time Yo-Yo visited, Li Mei would talk the most. Those fragmented memories of the past seemed to find a way to reach Yo-Yo's understanding eyes. Late one night, Lo Yu was woken by the sound of her phone ringing. It was the nursing home, saying that Li Mei had fallen in the courtyard, and on the way to the hospital, she kept calling out for her. By the time Lo Yu arrived at the hospital, Li Mei had already received treatment and was asleep in her hospital bed. She kept mumbling, "Yu, my daughter. Mom is here," explained the nursing home director, a plump middle-aged woman who spent her days worrying about the nursing home's limited funds. Now, with Li Mei's injured leg requiring extra care, she was even more troubled. "Look, could you? Auntie Li doesn't really have family. I'll take care of her." Lo Yu's words brought instant relief to the director, who nodded eagerly, grateful for anything that might lighten her load. As she looked at the frail figure of Li Mei asleep in bed, Lo Yu told the director she would stay the night. In the quiet of the night, Li Mei occasionally mumbled incoherently in her sleep. You. The hospital room reeked of antiseptic, and as Lo Yu watched Li Mei's gray hair and worn-out face, her heart felt tight with sadness. It took quite a bit of persuading to get Li Mei to agree to recover at her home. "Once your leg's better, I'll take you back. I live alone anyway, and you'd be great company." With some reluctance, Li Mei allowed herself to be escorted to Lo Yu's home, a small, cozy two-bedroom apartment that was furnished in a sweet and welcoming style, very much the room of a young woman. "Auntie Li, you'll stay in this room. I've already bought everything you need. Tell me if it suits you," Lo Yu said, helping her into the bedroom, which featured a creamy white wooden bed, sunflower-patterned curtains, and a cabinet in the corner overflowing with dolls. Everything in the room gave Li Mei a warm, strange sense of familiarity. Perhaps it was simply the feeling of a home, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Lu Yuyu ran an online shop, so her work mostly took place on her computer in the living room, where she could be heard fiercely bargaining with customers while Li Mei basked in the sun on the balcony. In the evenings after dinner, Lu Yuyu would push Li Mei in her wheelchair to the garden in the residential complex to enjoy the evening breeze. "Yuyu, why don't you ever talk about your parents?" Li Mei asked one day. "What's there to say? They keep nagging me to move abroad with them, driving me nuts." Lu Yuyu laughed it off. Li Mei silently chided herself. A carefree girl like Lu Yuyu could only see parental love as a burden. How could she possibly understand longing? Thinking of her own daughter, Li Mei wondered where in the world she might be now, if there was anyone who cherished her. "Auntie, I'll go grab a few things from the supermarket. Just stay here and wait for me. I'll be back soon, and we'll head home together." Lu Yu told her to stay put and not wander off. No sooner had she left than a man, looking frantic and around 30-something, approached Li Mei. "Did you see a little girl in a yellow plaid dress?" Li Mei shook her head dully. The man, near tears, ran off calling, "Honey, please don't scare Daddy. Where are you?" His broken cries pulled Li Mei back into her own darkness, an afternoon years ago, the gate swinging open, and her running down the street, asking anyone and everyone, "My child, have you seen my child?" When Lu Yuyu returned, carrying bags of groceries and humming a tune, she spotted a father scolding his daughter. "You can't wander off like that, you know. Daddy was so scared." The little girl in a yellow dress stuck out her tongue and playfully hugged her father's leg. The scene warmed Lu Yuyu's heart until she noticed Li Mei's empty wheelchair left on the lawn. In the hospital's emergency room, Lu Yuyu scolded Li Mei. "Didn't I tell you not to wander off? What would I do if you got lost?" She had found Li Mei not far from the complex, hobbling along the street, looking around as if searching for something. I was trying to help find that child," Li Mei explained softly. "What child?" "The kid was safe in the garden, and here you are all banged up again," Lu Yuyu shouted. The doctor nearby couldn't help but chime in. All right. No need to yell at your mom like that." Li Mei hurriedly corrected him. "She's not." Lu Yuyu wiped her tears. "What? I'll speak to my mom however I want. Have you ever lost yours?" Half-spoken words died in Li Mei's throat. After that, Lu Yuyu took Li Mei everywhere with her. The older woman's leg was healing day by day, and she could even manage short walks with some help. Yet Lu Yuyu seemed distracted, always lost in thought. One night, after working late into the morning, Lu Yuyu woke up to find that Li Mei had made her a bowl of noodles. Taking a dramatic bite, she exclaimed, "So delicious." Li Mei beamed, her eyes crinkling. "You know, you eat just like my own daughter." The smile froze on Lu Yuyu's face. She spoke slowly. "Auntie Li, how about I be your daughter? I'm already called Yuyu. Wouldn't that be perfect?" "Oh, I've always thought of you as my daughter." "No, I mean let me be your real daughter. Let me take care of you and live with you." "That wouldn't be right." Li Mei shook her head vigorously. "Why not? Your real daughter is lost, probably calling someone else mom by now. Maybe she's already forgotten you." Lu Yuyu hadn't finished her sentence before Li Mei stumbled up and wobbled to her room, locking herself inside. Late that night, as Lu Yuyu lay sleepless in bed, she got up, walked to the kitchen for water, and found an unfinished bowl of noodles with a note tucked beneath it. "Yuyu, thank you for your kindness, but you belong to your mother. Just because I lost my Yuyu doesn't mean I can take someone else's. I've already called a cab to the nursing home, don't worry." Slowly, Lu Yuyu sat down and began eating the cold noodles, dialing a number as she chewed. "I messed up," she murmured into the phone, her tears dripping into the bowl. Though Li Mei had once again forgotten the salt, all she could taste was bitterness mixed with salt, painfully lingering on her tongue. Li Mei returned to the nursing home, but for a long while, Lu Yuyu never showed up. Grandma Lu tried to console her with a touch of cynicism, saying, "Think about it, dear. She's not family, after all. How long can she keep being there for you? Sometimes, Even family can let you down, let alone strangers. Grandma Lu's own son had immigrated overseas with his family, leaving her with some money and a hollow promise. "Mom, we'll visit whenever we can." Li Mei stayed silent, her eyes fixed on the nursing home entrance. One early morning, the whole nursing home was disturbed by Li Mei's frantic voice. "Where's my box? My box?" Li Mei was searching everywhere. She had a cherished wooden box, something everyone in the nursing home knew about, but no one knew what it contained. She never let anyone touch it. The director gently suggested, "Could it be that you left it at Lu Yu's place? I remember you packed it into your bag when you were getting ready to leave her house." This reminder seemed to jog Li Mei's memory. She pleaded with the director to help her reach Lu Yu by phone, but to her surprise, a man answered. "Who is this?" he asked. I'm looking for Lu Yu." Li Mei's voice quivered as she gripped the phone. The man was silent for a moment. "It's very important. I need to talk to her," Li Mei practically begged. The man agreed to meet, and he arrived at the nursing home promptly, driving Li Mei to Lu Yu's home. In the car, Li Mei kept glancing at the man. "Is there something on my face?" he asked, instinctively brushing his cheek. No, you just look familiar," she murmured, averting her gaze. The man chuckled and said no more. Once at Lu Yu's home, Li Mei thoroughly searched the room she had stayed in but couldn't find the box. "Can't you please call her?" she asked, her voice hesitant. The man shook his head. Seeing Li Mei's helpless expression, he led her to Lu Yu's room. "Maybe you should check in here. She'd understand how much that box means to you." "Are you sure? Is this okay?" "It's fine. If she knew, she'd understand," the man said, leaning casually against the doorway. Lu Yu's room was clean and minimalistic, with few belongings. Li Mei searched every possible corner, but found no trace of the box. In the back of the closet, however, she found a small crimson dress with 2 little flowers embroidered on the collar, along with the name Yu. Seeing the familiar stitching, Li Mei clutched the dress, memories flooding back. Her daughter's departure and Lu Yu's smiling face mingled in her mind, both hazy yet overwhelming. Before she could process it, Li Mei fainted, murmuring, "You?" In the hospital room, Lu Yu opened her eyes to see Li Mei sitting at her bedside. "You're awake. Are you hungry? What would you like to eat?" Before Lu Yu could answer, Li Mei was already on her feet. "I know. Whenever you were sick as a child, I'd make noodles for you. Wait here. I'll check the hospital cafeteria." Li Mei rushed out, and Lu Yu looked at the man by her side. "You told her, didn't you?" The man shrugged. She figured it out herself. "That dress you hid in the closet brought back her memories. Even if she remembers, it'll fade again," Lu Yu said, trying to sit up but was stopped by the man. "Don't move too much. You just had surgery. Why won't you acknowledge her? Are you still angry?" "No, I'm not angry," Lu Yu whispered, taking out a recording device from under her pillow. "I heard this, and I couldn't be angry anymore." From the device, Li Mei's voice played. "Dr. Xia, for the past 30 years, I've been living a lie, deceiving everyone, even myself. When Yu was born, she had a heart condition. The doctors said she wouldn't live past 30 and would need several major surgeries. Her father and I fought to keep her alive. But we were broke, barely able to afford her medication. We owed so much, and our friends and family began avoiding us. I had no other choice. I couldn't just watch my daughter die. I left her at the orphanage on her 4th birthday while her father was out buying a birthday cake. I thought the orphanage would have the resources to help her. That day, Yu was so obedient. She asked me if we could warm up the leftover noodles when we got home. I told her yes, that we would, then I left her at the orphanage. I watched her get led inside before I turned away. She cried as they took her in, a heartbreaking sound. I forced myself not to turn around, afraid that if I did, I'd doom her chances for treatment. I lied to her father, telling him she'd wandered off. I told everyone she ran off while I was cooking. No one doubted me. Later, when I went back to check on her, the orphanage told me she was gone. I lost her, searched every street in the city, but never found her again. I abandoned my daughter. That secret has been buried in my heart ever since. But I don't want to lie to myself anymore. I have an illness now, one that will eventually erase all my memories. I asked the doctor if I'd forget the most important people and events in my life. The doctor couldn't say for sure, but suggested I record it. If I listen to it daily, I might not forget. Dr. Xia, please, if you ever see me on the street and I don't recognize you, remind me that I recorded this so that if I ever see my daughter again, I can tell her I didn't abandon her because she was sick. I wanted someone to save her. Lu Yuyu put away the recorder. Dr. Xia, please, don't remind her that this recording ever existed. The man nodded in understanding. Thank you, Lu Yuyu whispered, deleting the recording. In the final days that Yeye and Li Mei spent together, their world had become confined to the hospital. When can Yeye go home? Li Mei asked the doctor, trailing behind him persistently. I've told you already, the doctor replied, never tiring of repeating himself. In her condition, it's impossible for her to be discharged. Li Mei's memory grew hazier by the day. She couldn't recall the little box she once treasured or the days when a volunteer named Yeye shared so many stories with her at the care center. All she remembered now was the girl lying in the hospital bed, who she believed was her daughter. A young girl still trapped in the clutches of that cruel heart disease. Does it hurt? Would you like some noodles? Li Mei would ask, gently touching Yeye's forehead. Yeye would nod weakly. But by the time Li Mei brought the bowl to her bedside, Yeye would have already drifted into a deep sleep. And when she woke, Li Mei would reheat the noodles again and again. Over time, the noodles turned into a gluey mush. Every now and then, Yeye would take a small bite, nodding earnestly. It's delicious. Mom's noodles are the best. On the morning of her passing, Yeye said she was hungry. Li Mei quickly threw on her coat to borrow a stove from the canteen to make her noodles. But by the time she walked back into the hospital room, carrying the food in a small container, Yeye had already closed her eyes for the last time. Yeye, your mother's too slow, Li Mei muttered, tears pooling as she cradled the food in her hands. The noodles got a bit cold again. Shall I warm them for you? She opened the container, held it under Yeye's nose, and rambled on. Does it smell good? I didn't forget the salt this time, or the spring onions. A faint tear trail remained on Yeye's pale cheek. If fate decided to separate us, then please live on happily in my place, she seemed to wish, but her words never reached the outside world. In the cemetery, a gravestone bore a smiling photo of Yeye with a single bouquet of lilies at its base. Standing before it, Dr. Xia placed a voice recorder on the stone steps. Momo, I wonder, did I ever heal your wounds in the end? Your mother's doing well. I've found her a better care center, and I drop by when I can. But she doesn't remember me. Dr. Xia could still recall the day that peculiar girl had walked into his clinic. Doctor, I don't want to die hating my mother. Please help me. The girl, named Momo, was an orphan with little memory of her birth parents. What she remembered was fragmentary, a mother who had left her at an intersection, never to return. Momo had a congenital heart disease. Any undue stress or discomfort could be fatal, which, in her case, meant surviving was itself a stroke of luck. The family that adopted her was reasonably well off, and she herself had always fought hard to live, despite the ever-present pain of abandonment. As she got older, she grew more aware that every day was a blessing, a chance denied by her own body's fragility. Each night, she lay awake wishing she could ask her mother why she was abandoned. Did she truly mean so little? Yet, she also remembered flashes of her mother cooking noodles, singing lullabies, and comforting her, a warm, hazy memory that would linger, keeping her awake until dawn. One day, Dr. Xia showed her a case profile, a patient named Li Mei. The woman's details bore an uncanny resemblance to Momo's few memories of her mother. Momo wasn't sure if it was fate or if some cosmic force had orchestrated their reunion. But she hesitated, unsure if she wanted confirmation. If you'd like to know, I can help you, Dr. Xia offered. Instead, Momo chose caution, opting to remain in the shadows. She became Dr. Xia's assistant nurse, attending to Li Mei each time she visited the clinic. As she discovered more details matching her memories, her doubts faded, yet she didn't understand why her mother insisted she had been lost rather than abandoned. Maybe you should ask her directly, Dr. Xia suggested. Momo, bitterly smiling, replied, if a mother can lie so resolutely, what's the point of demanding the truth face to face? After that, Dr. Xia kept the final words Li Mei had shared with him to himself, repeating only, you'll need to heal this wound yourself. No one else can do it for you. Momo later became a volunteer at her mother's care home, finding solace in the opportunity to spend time with her, even if Li Mei no longer recognized her. She wanted to be near her mother, at least until her own heart could no longer carry her forward. It might be denial, but she cherished this quiet companionship, one she never had in her youth. Eventually, though, Li Mei slipped away, leaving only a note. Alone, Momo ate a bowl of cold noodles, chilled both in taste and memory. Why, she wondered, could you never show the same compassion to your own child? She finished the noodles, recalling how, as a young girl, she had loved her mother's noodle soup. When she was sick, noodles were the only thing she wanted, and her mother would always take extra care to make it just right. Years later, when she tasted Li Mei's noodles again at the care center, they seemed so bland. She realized it was her mother's love that had filled each bowl with flavor. In the end, her heart did not outlast the doctor's predictions. When Dr. Xia came to visit her in the hospital, she joked, you should refund my fees, doctor. Your treatment had no effect. Dr. Xia laughed, then you should refund my wages. After all, you worked so few shifts before skipping out. They laughed together as she handed him her apartment keys. Could you fetch something for me? It's still here. In her empty apartment, Dr. Xia found a small wooden box covered in dust in the guest room, one Momo had avoided ever since Li Mei had moved out. He brought the box to her at the hospital. If you still want to know what she said that last day, Dr. Xia whispered, the answer is here. Listening to the recording inside, Momo's heart broke. As her tears fell, Dr. Xia said, after making that recording, your mother told me that, for any mother, the most important thing is that her child is alive. And Momo wept, releasing a lifetime's worth of sorrow. In the nursing home, Li Mei sat basking in the sun, lost in thought. Auntie, what are you thinking about so seriously? Dr. Xia sat down beside Li Mei. I lost something, but I can't remember what it is. What is it? I can help you look for it. I forgot. It's just something that's gone. Li Mei shyly glanced at Dr. Xia. You are you. Dr. Xia smiled innocently. You don't remember me again? I'm Yuyu's boyfriend. Oh, right, Yuyu. Li Mei quickly nodded, embarrassed. My memory is getting worse and worse. It's okay. Yuyu asked me to come and visit you often before she went abroad. Yuyu went abroad? Yes, she left last month for Germany and then to the UK. Dr. Xia said seriously, making things up. Li Mei beamed with delight. That's amazing. Really amazing. Dr. Xia took out a few photos from his pocket, showing Li Mei the pictures of her with MO. Auntie, keep these photos. If you miss Yuyu, just take them out to look at. Okay. Li Mei gently traced the faces of the girls in the photos. Dr. Xia then handed her a recording pen, pressing the button to play. Mom, I'll be away for work for a long time. You take care of yourself, okay? When I come back, I want to eat the noodles you make, a big bowl. Li Mei clutched the recording pen tightly in her hand, murmuring to herself, no seasoning, rinse the instant noodles, wash some vegetables, slice a few pieces of ham. Dr. Xia looked up at the sky, which was clear and blue. MO, I've done everything you asked me to. Your mom has forgotten everything but you, and that's good. And you? It must be hard to hold on to life with the belief that you can sustain yourself with hate. Now, take a good rest. Fate has brought you back together again for a reason.